Ryan Blaney's seemingly hard-earned win at Darlington Raceway quickly turned to misery, and it all started with a late race caution for two drivers who weren't even vying for position. The subsequent ripple effect did more than just alter the outcome. It also created controversy, misunderstanding, and a great lot of frustration on pit road. So, who was in the wrong, and was the response justified? And more importantly, was the caution deliberate? The key late race caution radically impacted the race's outcome, despite the fact that it involved two cars that were not even battling for position. With only a few laps remained at Darlington, Ryan Blaney claimed the race lead, prompting an unexpected yellow flag. Kyle Larson, who was over 160 laps down, spun exiting turn 2 and collided with the inside wall. Denny Hamlin advanced from third to first and won the race following pit stops and an overtime restart, while Blaney dropped to fifth. But what happened behind the race leaders to cause the race-altering yellow? In-car cameras show a direct relationship between Blaney's death of Reddick and the next occurrence. Blaney muscled Tyler Reddick, who slipped up the track and crashed into the outside wall at the exit of turn 2. Larson, who had just passed Bubba Wallace, who was one lap behind, observed Reddick in the wall and slowed down. Wallace, unable to see beyond Larson's number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, failed to react quickly and connected with him, sending Larson spinning. Wallace expressed dismay on the radio. "Brother, it was not that big of a checkup. I didn't want that." Wallace slid in directly behind Larson according to video, just before the HMS driver applied the brakes. His team responded as well, stating the dude just panicked. But why did Larson pass Wallace? They weren't competing for positions. Larson appears to have come down pit road for a new set of tires with less than 10 laps remaining. He was sprinting forward, quickly catching up with the lead group when he passed Wallace. Larson instantly slowed to around 20 miles per hour at the exit of the bend after sighting Reddick. "I was checking up, so that's embarrassing," Larson remarked. Finally, while none of it was intentional and might easily be described as a racing accident, if forced to pick, Larson would almost probably be held responsible. He was being extra cautious and attempted to get out of the way to avoid this outcome, but with Wallace arriving quickly behind him, he had little time to react as Larson aggressively applied the brakes. Larson had nothing to gain by passing Wallace and had little chance of improving his position on the track. It's also worth noting that Larson would not have been allowed to return to the track last year after his early race crash, in the same spot. However, the amended damaged vehicle rules for 2025 allow for lengthy garage repairs without withdrawing from the race. Larson could certainly keep up in his fully repaired car, so that wasn't an issue. He simply happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong moment. That wrong location, wrong time conundrum would eventually lead to overtime, and Wallace made little effort to hide his irritation in the aftermath. Bubba Wallace was upset after the collision. Reddick had just been passed by Ryan Blaney, and Wallace had had a terrible day on track. These drivers were trying to finish, instead work extra hours. "Brother, that was not that big of a checkup." According to Steven Taranto of CBS Sports, Wallace yelled over the radio. "Dude just panicked," his spotter, Freddie Kraft, said over the radio. "The 45 just got in the fence. He could have run the bottom." I didn't want that," Wallace responded. "God damn it." Tyler Reddick was just ahead of Larson when he passed Bubba Wallace. Larson looked up as Reddick hit the wall. In a significant way, the 23 had limited room to slow down and was effectively turned off and brake checked. Kyle Larson was driving a repaired vehicle. Perhaps he didn't think he could stop in time if necessary. Perhaps the handling was incorrect. In any case, it was a unique occurrence that ultimately impacted the race. Denny Hamlin quickly entered and exited pit road, taking the lead. He subsequently took control of the overtime restart and ran away with the win. Ryan Blaney believed the race was his until it wasn't. And, like many admirers, he was left to find out what had happened. Ryan Blaney appeared to have won the Goodyear 400 during the final circuits at Darlington Raceway. Then Kyle Larson spun off, and a late caution changed the outcome for the former NASCAR Cup Series champion who was searching for his first win in 2025. Denny Hamlin's pit crew executed superbly on their final pit stop, delivering the number 11 driver the lead and eventually the victory in South Carolina. The Team Penske driver tried to make sense of the incident with Larson that cost him the victory. The Hendrick Motorsports driver appeared to have been turned by Blaney's friend Bubba Wallace, but there was more to the story. Kyle Larson had been, I guess Larson was being told by his spotter, "Hey, Reddick's starting to run high here, you might want to check up a little bit." Then, as Reddick gets in the wall, Larson had been trying to stay out of the way because Larson wrecked earlier in the race, Jeff Gluck stated via the teardown. He's back out there. He's trying to stay out of the way. They're just trying to learn some things. He sees Reddick go into the fence, and Larson was already starting to run high. So, Larson gets on the brakes really hard. Obviously, Bubba didn't realize that Larson was going to check up that hard. Slows down. I mean, he can't slow down in time. He slows down to some degree and plows into Larson, spins him out, which sets up this caution. Now, of course, they come on Blaney's radio and they tell him, well, 23 spun out the 5, isn't that convenient? Blaney's like, oh great, right? The teammate thing. We immediately went back and looked at the Max in-car cameras, and it seemed pretty obvious that Larson slowed up a lot. Then, Auto Racing Analytics later put the data, not the SMT data anymore, but what used to be called the SMT data. He posted that, and you can see clearly the brake line that Larson had there to try to check up, and Bubba just ran into the back of him. It was pretty obvious though to me. There's plenty of, I see all the conspiracy theorists out there, but I honestly don't give any credence to this at all. I think it was a completely honest mistake coincidence, but it did ruin Blaney's race though, because a pit stop happens again. Denny Hamlin's pit crew has been on it, and they win him the race because he gets off pit road first. As you can tell, Gluck does not believe Wallace wanted to spoil Blaney's day, and it is easy to understand why. There was no collusion, even if Blaney believed it at the time. Despite this, the number 12 team will not retrieve its victory. One thing is certain, Denny Hamlin's situation eventually worked out. During his post-race interview, he even praised Kyle Larson. Ryan Blaney will win more races in the future, but it was not supposed to be at Darlington on Sunday. So the queries begin. Should drivers who are far behind in lap times continue to battle on the track with those vying for the win? Was this a rare racing occurrence? A preventable disaster? Or even a setup? And how many races can Ryan Blaney lose before he loses his cool? Please share your ideas below. Was Larson in the wrong? Should Bubba have anticipated it better? And did Hamlin profit solely from immaculate timing, or was there more to it? The Darlington drama is far from over and could come back this weekend.